There's something deeply honest about a branch. Something wild and at the same time comforting. It doesn't try to be perfect. It just is. Bent, cracked, reaching, grown in response to sun and wind and time. And when you take that branch, fallen or cut, maybe gathered after a storm or salvaged from a firewood pile, and turn it into a lamp, something shifts. Something forgotten is remembered. That piece of tree, once just part of a bigger whole, becomes something meaningful, something useful. It carries its history into your home, and it does so quietly, humbly, but with undeniable presence. A tree branch table lamp doesn't arrive polished and predictable. It isn't sanded down into something generic. It arrives with character, lines, grooves, textures left behind by rain and insects and seasons. Sometimes it still smells faintly like the woods. Sometimes, if you listen close enough, it almost creaks. It's alive in a way that factory-made things never are. Every knot in the grain, every twist in the form, is a sentence in a story that started decades ago, out there in the open air. The process begins with selection. Not all branches are equal. Some are too thin, too brittle, too curved to hold structure. Others are perfect, dense, dry with interesting shape. The best ones are the ones that look like they never planned to become a lamp at all. Branches with a wild reach, a fork that seems accidental, a silhouette that makes you pause. Maybe it splits in two, forming a Y. Maybe it curls in an arc like it once reached toward something. Whatever it is, it has presence. The kind that makes you see it not just as a piece of wood, but as the spine of something new. Cleaning comes next. Old bark is stripped, unless it's stable enough to keep. Moss is brushed away. The surface is sanded, not too much, just enough to remove splinters while preserving the natural shape. Sometimes the wood is treated with oil or beeswax to bring out the color and grain. You'll see golden ambers, deep chocolates, streaks of gray or black if the branch was aged or fire-kissed. Even slight blue hues appear in certain species, like spalted maple or beetle-stained pine. The grain dances beneath your fingers. Each layer reveals how the tree grew, season by season. Then comes the transformation. A hole is carefully drilled, sometimes straight through the center, other times hidden in a groove along the back. The wiring must follow the wood's natural line, never fighting it, always respecting the shape. The base must balance. It might be a slab of wood, smooth on the bottom, raw on top, sealed with oil or matte finish. Or maybe it's a square of polished concrete, cold and modern, contrasting with the warmth of the branch above. Some builders use stone, slate, even reclaimed metal plates from old machinery. Whatever the base is, it holds the branch like the earth once did, firmly but with reverence. At the top, the socket is chosen. It may be brass, antique finished, full of patina. Or matte black, sleek and minimalist. Sometimes it's mounted inside the fork of the branch, nestled like a bird's egg. Sometimes it's suspended by wire from a side arm, hanging like a lantern in the dark. The light itself might be an Edison bulb, exposed and amber-hued. Or it might be shaded, linen, paper, even hand-stitched leather. Each option changes how the lamp feels. Open bulbs cast drama, sharp shadows, glowing lines. Shades soften, spread the glow, turn it into something quiet and familiar. The switch is a final detail. It might be a simple inline toggle. Or a rotary dimmer mounted on the base. Some lamps include touch controls, modern features hidden inside rustic forms. Some cords are wrapped in cloth, vintage style. Others are jute-wrapped, braided like rope, adding to the handmade feel. Nothing flashy. Nothing loud. Just quiet design, each element chosen to serve the whole. When the lamp is done, it doesn't just sit in the room. It becomes part of it. It blends but never disappears. There's an honesty to its form. A tree branch doesn't need to explain itself. It existed long before it became a lamp. It has lived through storms, grown in the dark, bent toward light. Now, it brings that memory into your home, and gives off a glow all its own. And when the light is on, the room shifts. The shadows it casts are irregular, organic. They fall across walls in uneven patterns, just like sunlight through leaves. It doesn't glare. It doesn't dominate. It glows. A gentle pulse of warmth. A reminder of something older than electricity. Something slower. Some people place them by the bed, where the last thing they see at night is that warm light bending over a book. Others keep them on a writing desk, a workbench, a side table in the living room. Wherever they go, they offer something other lamps don't: texture, personality, a connection to the outside world that doesn't fade when the door closes. In modern homes, surrounded by metal and glass, a branch lamp is a tether to nature. It says, there's still room for the woods here. Even in clean lines and neutral palettes, even among devices and chargers and screens, there's still space for something wild. Something shaped not by machines, but by sun and wind and the simple stubbornness of life. They also carry something else: sustainability. These are not plastic lamps molded in factories. These are born from materials already available. Salvaged, not manufactured. A fallen limb becomes light. A discarded piece becomes the center of a room. It's a small act of renewal. A way of saying, nothing is wasted, not even the broken parts. Some artists go further, pairing branch bases with elements like driftwood, antler, stone. Combining materials not by force but by harmony. You might see a lamp where the base is a chunk of granite, and the arm is a gnarled piece of cedar. Or a lamp where moss is tucked into the joinery, kept fresh in a glass terrarium. Others take minimalism to the edge, a single blackened branch rising from a concrete puck, with a single bulb glowing above like a firefly. And others lean maximalist, multiple limbs crisscrossing, wrapped in copper wire, supporting clusters of bulbs like stars caught in a thicket. But always, the soul of it is the wood. The branch. The piece that once was part of a living giant. No matter what's added, the wood holds the focus. That's the heart of these lamps. Not the light they cast, but the life they carry. And when you reach out and switch it on, whether with a twist, a tap, or a tug, you're not just activating a circuit. You're awakening something. Bringing that old branch back to purpose. Giving it a second life. Letting it shine, in the quietest, most natural way. Because in the end, a tree branch table lamp is not just about function. It's not just about lighting a space. It's about honoring material. Respecting time. Holding on to something real in a world that often forgets the beauty of the imperfect. It's about turning a fallen limb into a thing of quiet wonder. And letting it remind you, every time it glows, that beauty still grows in crooked lines. Tree branch table lamps are more than just lighting. They're living reminders, pieces of the natural world brought indoors, softened and shaped into something warm, functional, and full of soul. In a world saturated with plastic and factory-made uniformity, there's something deeply grounding about seeing a raw, twisting branch holding up a soft, ambient glow. It's not just a lamp, it's presence. It's sculpture. It's story. Every tree branch has its own fingerprint. No two curves are the same. No two grains run the same path. Some branches are smooth and elegant, others gnarled and wild. And when they're turned into a lamp, those characteristics aren't hidden, they're celebrated. The knots, the bends, the irregularities, they become the design. They make the piece impossible to replicate. What you get isn't just an object, it's a one-of-a-kind expression of nature's design language. And it's not just about looks. A tree branch table lamp changes the atmosphere of a space. It doesn't shout for attention, but it does hold it. The way it casts light, soft, dappled, maybe even filtered through a handmade shade or bare Edison bulb, creates a sense of calm. It feels organic, lived in, real. It can warm up a minimal space or bring elegance to a rustic room. It bridges opposites, natural and refined, raw and designed. Even more powerful is what it represents. When you light a room with a tree branch, you're not just flipping a switch. You're honoring something older than any human design. Something that grew slowly, quietly in the dirt and sun and wind. The lamp becomes a symbol of patience, growth, resilience. You're reminded, every time it glows, of the outside world. Of the woods. Of seasons. Of the passage of time. And if you're making one yourself, if you're out gathering branches, sanding down bark, fitting wires, choosing a base, then the meaning only deepens. It's a project that invites attention and care. You're not just building a lamp. You're collaborating with nature. Letting the shape of the branch guide the final form. Trusting the imperfections. Respecting the material. And when it's finally done and lit, that moment is unlike anything store-bought could offer. Even in its simplicity, the tree branch lamp stands out. In a hallway, it becomes a quiet focal point. On a desk, it adds warmth without distraction. On a bedside table, it doesn't just provide light, it brings comfort. And in all those places, it tells the same story, that beauty doesn't need polish. That light, when paired with nature, becomes something more than utility, it becomes emotion. These lamps also speak to a different kind of sustainability. Not just in materials but in mindset. Using what's available. Celebrating what's imperfect. Crafting with intention. In a throwaway culture, a handmade or hand-selected branch lamp becomes an act of resistance. A quiet one but powerful nonetheless. So whether you've made one yourself or found one that caught your eye, a tree branch table lamp is more than a decorative choice. It's a connection. To earth. To texture. To realness. It reminds us that design doesn't have to start from scratch. Sometimes the best inspiration is already there, in the forest, the backyard, the fallen limb after a storm. And in the end, when the day winds down and you flip on that light, it's not just brightness that fills the room. It's calm. It's character. It's a bit of nature brought inside, not forced, not altered, just gently invited in to stay.